The purpose of this channel is to bring you the latest information and important updates to the Commonwealth. I also want to raise awareness and bring education of the stigma that is in the cannabis community. You can all help make the Commonwealth and beyond a great place to be a cannabis patient or a responsible adult use user. Please help this channel by giving me a share, a like, and subscribe to help make this channel grow. You can also click the notification bell to be notified of the latest content. This channel is intended for medical cannabis users 18 and over and adult users 21 and over. Please medicate and consume responsibly. Welcome to Virginia Cannabis Connection. Once again, I'm your guy on the couch, Joe Parsons. Let's go ahead and get into it with the week's news. Starting in Virginia, sadly, there's not too much to report from the Commonwealth, as no official outcome has been announced in the bill that was passed before the House on January 10th of 2024. The bill, HB 698, was introduced by Democrat Paul Krysick, and it's the third attempt to establish a framework for retail cannabis sales. Last year, a similar bill was shot down in the GOP majority House. Here is an official summary as introduced. It establishes a framework for the creation of retail marijuana market in the Commonwealth to be administered by the Virginia Cannabis Control Authority. The bill allows the authority to begin issuing all marijuana licenses on July 1st, 2025. However, the bill allows certain pharmaceutical processors to begin operations on July 1st. And allows a limited number of other licenses to begin operations on January 1st. I would like to take a deeper look at this in future hot topics, but for now, nothing else has been released. On January 22nd, it went to the next session, assigned GL Sub ABC Gaming. No other news has been reported on the outcome. It's still unclear if the governor will veto this bill, even if it gets approved. He's made it clear that he isn't interested in the retail market, and as of yet has to show any change in his stance as of this report. The VCCA, or Virginia Cannabis Control Authority's latest update on their website was on January 24th. It was an announcement for a safe driving partner toolkit that is aimed at promoting responsible and safe driving. As always, I'll be keeping my eyes open and my ears to the wall for the latest updates on the outcome of Bill HB 698. In more recent news, on Thursday, a Senate panel began working out the differences of two separate bills that would legalize cannabis in the Commonwealth. The first is SB 423 from Senator Adam Ebbin. The second is SB 448 from Senator Aaron Rouse. Both establish a framework for retail sales, but are vastly different. SB 423 wants to get the things rolling quickly by allowing the state's current existing medical operators to sell recreational products almost immediately. That's great news for the existing framework of MSOs. MSOs are multi-state operators. Example, Curaleaf and Rise Cannabis. Also, many other multi-millionaire companies that can buy and monopolize the market. SB 448, on the other hand, it makes provisions for a fair free market system. Aaron Rouse said in his bill, and I quote, "In this bill, no one applicant is preferred over another. I, for one, definitely support free enterprise and support SB 448. Luckily, the Senate panel agrees with me and backed Democratic Senator Aaron Rouse's SB 448. Not only does it support free enterprise, it would make some excellent revisions to the existing framework. For example, it would raise the limit from 1 ounce for personal possession to 2.5 ounces. It would also make very strict packaging rules that do not appeal to children in any way, and enforce stricter testing guidelines. It's very similar to the way things ran in Maine. It's absolutely amazing. I definitely support his wonderful work, and I hope that it does not again get rejected by the governor. I'm going to do my very best to keep you up to date with the latest as this develops. In national news, the Los Angeles-based MSO operator MadMen Enterprises had its chief executive officer step down on January the 19th. Her name was Ellen Harrison. Then separately, on the 24th, the company's board chair, Michael Serraria, left his position only days later. No reason has yet been released for the sudden changes to the company, but as the industry grows, so does the challenges. Perhaps the restructure will be good for this West Coast giant. In Wisconsin, they may have to wait another year to finally get a Senate-approved bill to pass. Wisconsin, one of the last mid-coast holdout states with no medical or recreational proposal in place, has been unable to make a compromise in the Republican-controlled House. Governor Tony Evers says he wants to sign an adult bill into law and will even settle for only medical if the Republicans that control both houses can pass a bill. Earlier, the state assembly speaker, Robin Voss, unveiled a limited medical proposal that only allowed sales at 5 state-run facilities in this vast, huge state. So far, Voss has been unable to compromise. Another bill could possibly go before the Senate later this year with a more flexible plan that promotes free enterprise and not a state-run operation. I myself hope for a compromise for free enterprise. Finally, in world news, the German health minister has set a target for spring for the national parliament to approve the nation's new cannabis reform law. A vote was expected by parliament in December but has been delayed. This is a major step for Europe. This plan would call for the complete decriminalization of cannabis. It would also allow for home cultivation and introduce cannabis clubs, similar to the ones they have in the Netherlands. These cannabis clubs could launch as early as July. The law is not without objection, as some federal states definitely object to it, including the highly conservative Bavaria. Best wishes and my support go to Germany as they get closer to ending prohibition in their country. If their cannabis is anything like their beer, Germany will definitely be one to watch in the future. And now it's time for today's pot topic. Can you really grow in Virginia? Have you ever thought about growing in Virginia, either as a hobby or just because you can? A lot of people whom are patients can save a lot of money growing just to supplement their prescriptions. No matter the reason, growing can be a lot of fun once you get the hang of it. The good news is that Virginia is a cultivation state. It's also on par with most other states as far as its limits. However, growing cannabis in most cultivation states is more for hobbyists or enthusiasts, as very strict limits make it difficult to either make a sustainable supply or never have to rely on other sources. So the question, can you really grow here in the Commonwealth? Well, here's the deal. Here in Virginia, you can only have 4 cannabis plants, either sativa or hemp. You must label your plants, the same as in most states, with your name, of course, your driver's or state ID number, and a note that says for either personal or for medical use only. No plants can be visible from the road, and as always, you must be discreet. Again, this is on par for most growing states. Sounds great, right? Well, I said most states. Some states allow for the potential to make much better supplies. For instance, Colorado and California both allow for vegetative and seedling growth labeled as immature plants. What that means is that these plants do not count until they reach the flowering stage, meaning that you can have more than the said amount of either 3 or 4, depending on the state. That sounds even better, right? Now, I personally think the best state to become a grower is by far Maine. Now, I know I'm a little bit biased because I love Maine, but this one is definitely undeniable. But before you get your mind blown, let me first give you a little bit of information about the 3 primary stages of the cannabis plant. Seedlings are the first stage. Their cycle is about 2 to 3 weeks. A lot can be determined even at this young age. Having multiple seedlings can make it easy to pick the plants that will have the best chance of thriving during the next stage. The next stage is the vegetative stage. The vegetative stage is where you determine the sex and where your plant begins to excel. This stage can last up to 15 weeks. During this time, your plant will grow a root structure. Leaves and branches will start to spread out and grow, but there'll be no buds. Now, it is possible to even extend how long your plant stays in this vegetative stage. For example, in indoor grows, you can control the light source and the amount of time. For example, a 16-8 light cycle will keep a plant almost indefinitely in its vegetative stage. This is also the best time to pick the very best ladies, and that will enter the final stage. The final stage is the flowering stage. This stage can last from 7 to 14 weeks, and this is where all the magic happens. Your precious flowers or buds will form and the plant will mature. If you pick the best seedlings, then pick the best plants in vegetative stage, then your flowering stage should be super rewarding. You should also have a pretty decent harvest. Now, with all that being said, prepare to hear how legalized growing should be, courtesy of the Pine Tree State, Maine. In Maine, you can have an unlimited amount of seedlings. Then you can have up to 12 plants in vegetative stage at all times. Then you can have 3 plants in flower. I'm going to give you a second to let that sink in. As you can see, in Maine, you can easily have a very sustainable growth cycle that allows for error and helps adapt to the steep learning curve that is involved with growing cannabis. And believe me, there's a steep learning curve when it is growing anything, but especially cannabis. Cannabis is a very delicate plant. It takes time, patience, and lots of love to grow great cannabis. A decent non-feminized plant should take about 32 weeks to harvest. That gives a fresh perspective on why people call their plants their babies, as it takes that same dedication and time as an actual child. Growing in Maine also brings new meaning to the Maine state logo, Maine, the way life should be. But that's just my opinion. We can all work together to get those same laws and legislations brought here. And it sounds like we're well on our way with the recent new SB 448. Let's hope the governor doesn't shut it down. We definitely want to show our support to Senator Aaron Rouse. Thank you for all the hard work that you're doing to make the Commonwealth a little bit better. Now, when I lived in Maine, I did grow a little bit of cannabis, and it's also where I learned how to make a sustainable supply. But I haven't even attempted here in Virginia, as there isn't much room for error. I've been so busy starting a new life and starting this channel that I don't have time for error. So back to Virginia, and back to the question, can you really grow cannabis in Virginia? Let me know in the comments. That's all my time for today. I hope that you found this useful, especially if you've ever thought about growing cannabis. So stay lifted, my friends. Until next time.